Welcome to the Mindful Practice podcast show. We have today a very good, fabulous coach that I met recently on a program that we're doing together, and her name is Busisiwe Hlatswayo. Welcome to the Mindful Practice podcast show.
Thanks, Ryan. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited.
I'm
Hi to your
excited
viewers.
too. Thank you. Thank you for
Yeah.
being here. So, I normally tell the personal stories of individuals on the podcast in order to
hmm
inspire others and also to empower with your story and your background and what you do, etc., which we'll get into. So, let's start at the
Mm.
beginning, Busisiwe, and just tell us, where do you come from? Who's the family? Where did you
Oh,
grow up?
yeah. Oh
Let's
my
start there.
gosh. Oh, where do we start? Oh my gosh.
Just the
So
highlights. Yeah.
just a high level. Okay.
Mm.
So I was born and raised in Mamelodi. I was a middle child.
Ah,
So I was the coach of the family already, I was
okay.
the one who was maintaining the peace, making sure that
Mm.
everybody's taking care of each other. I was just the friend to everyone, coach to everyone. So this has been
Your
my
path.
life even from the beginning. Yes.
Yeah.
So when I decided to study accounting. And the decision was made based on the fact that we were poor at home, and I thought I don't remember if it's where you had to check
Mhm.
where you could check careers,
Okay.
and then it said chartered accountants make a
Okay.
lot of money. I was like, yeah, this is the one. I didn't know what
Okay.
accountants
Yeah, yeah,
did.
yeah.
I didn't know what it was all about, and so went to varsity. When I got to varsity, that's where you realize I'm not
Yeah,
sure if this is
exactly.
for me. I didn't, and that's even where I realized what the root was and what
Mm.
accountants really
Really
do,
do.
which I'm very embarrassed about. But hey, it is what it
We
is.
know that they work with
Um,
numbers. Yeah.
Listen. So I really, really struggled in varsity for the first time. I was very smart at school,
Yeah.
but really, really struggled. Oh, yes. And what else? I forgot to talk about something very important and very
Mm.
significant that happened to me. So I was always ambitious, even though I came from a poor family. I just had this feeling that I was
Yeah.
going to do something important with my life,
Good. Yeah.
So at 15, I fell pregnant. And for me, that was such a shock because it was
Mm.
like, I always know that I'm going to be great. And people who fell pregnant at 15,
Yeah.
never go anywhere. That was in my mind. And that's not true. A lot
Mm.
of
No,
people
it's
who
not
were
true.
teenage mothers did well, but that's what happened. I went back to school, really wanted to go to a multiracial school, because that was the time when multiracial schools started opening for
Sure.
everyone,
Yeah.
and really, really wanted to go there. And it's fascinating that I created all these beliefs that because I
Mm.
didn't go to a multiracial school, um, then I was not good enough, then
Mm.
certain things were not for me.
Yeah.
And that really showed up in varsity. Oh my gosh, I struggled
Okay.
in varsity.
Okay.
Um, I I think because in our townships we were raised to believe that white people were superior,
Yeah.
that everything that was good, that was amazing was
Yeah.
white.
Yes, but we also
And
come
then
from the apartheid culture where that was part of
exactly,
your
exactly.
subconscious
Mm.
anyway. Mm.
Totally. So when I got to varsity, I struggled with imposter syndrome, like
Right.
a hectic imposter syndrome.
Mm.
Because for the first time in my life, we were equal. We're in this
Yep.
class, we're all equal, and they're so articulate. They engage with the lecturer, and I'm just still struggling with interpreting English first
Ah,
language
sure.
on the
Yes,
textbook.
yes.
Yeah, so
Mm,
I really struggled, and it's so fascinating that as Black students, we actually some of the Black students we came together. We're
mm.
still a few then. We came together and just had these Wednesdays where we were just supporting one another. We were just
Oh, good.
encouraging. We should call
Wow.
them Power Wednesdays.
Oh,
We
fantastic.
were just
And which
encouraging.
university was that?
I went to University of Pretoria. I
Okay.
know that they've made a lot of changes, but then the culture was still very much Afrikaans culture,
Hmm.
all
Of
the
course.
yeah, all the activities were still very much
Yeah. And
culture.
what year was that?
Finished 1999, so it must have been 2000, 2001.
Okay. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so brave.
Yeah,
In
so
between being a mother and all of that, did you have
yeah,
support?
so I had
Yeah.
to stay. So my son came late in January, so I stayed the whole year with my son,
Okay.
and then the next year he went to crèche, and I really am grateful for my family, and
Mm,
also very grateful to the child support grant. You know, I know a lot of people don't like the grant; they think it, I don't know, it encourages
mm,
mothers to have kids, but for me, it was such a support.
mm.
It took so much load from my parents, who
Okay.
were not
Okay.
doing very well. We could pay crèche, and then I could lay by some clothes.
Yeah.
So it really, really, really
Mm,
helped for me. And I know that a lot of young people, young women as well, it's helping. They start businesses. Sometimes it's the only
mm.
meal in the family from
And
that
the
support
only
grant. So.
thing I think behind all of that is your mindset. I mean, you still wanted to
Mm.
continue with your development, education, etc.
Totally, for me, it was an interruption really rather than the end. I thought
Yeah,
it was the end in the
in
beginning,
beginning.
but it really was an interruption. And also,
Mm,
I must say that because I had support,
yes.
I had parents, I had a roof over my head,
Yeah.
so that allowed me to still continue. But
Continue
yeah,
your
I
studies.
always.
Did you manage to find the bridge after your first year at university? Because I know it's tough for a lot of first year students. Mm,
Listen, it was, as I said, I think that whole us coming together,
mm,
as blacks, as a few black students and just supporting one another was
yeah.
so helpful
Yeah.
in just renewing that trust, that confidence that we
Mm,
can do it.
mm.
And yeah, I think
Feeling safe in that
yeah, feeling
space.
safe
Yeah.
and also realizing you're not the only one who's struggling because
Exactly.
then you feel so much shame. You feel so
Mm,
much.
yeah.
Shame is such a disempowering
Mm,
emotion,
it is.
and it really thrives in secrecy, you know?
Yes, yes. Keeping you
Yeah, when
small,
you feel
keeping you hidden, keeping, yeah.
totally, and it keeps you feeling like you're the only one. But once you know, actually, this is a natural thing that happens to a lot of people. Then it's not just about you. Then you're
Mm,
able to see things clearly. And for me,
mm,
consciousness is very important. What you
yeah.
get exposed to, n- um, additional knowledge that you get exposed to, additional knowing, additional information, and
Mm,
different perspective is
mm-hmm,
a really powerful thing
mm-hmm.
to remove things like shame, like
Oh, yeah, yeah.
isolation.
I can feel
When
the
you,
coach in you
yeah.
coming out. I can feel the coach.
It's coming out anyway. The CA route, you must you have to do honors and all of that. I couldn't. I was struggling with more money to go back to
Mm,
school. So I got a job, and fortunately I got to do articles as well within that. And even then, the imposter syndrome came
mm,
back, really struggled.
mm.
And whilst I was struggling with that, I read this book. I don't remember the name of the book. People
Right.
always ask me, I don't. But I remember the part of the book, there was a section there on how to double your income in 3 months.
Okay.
And it was basically, it was teaching you how to position yourself to be successful in the
Oh, wow.
workplace. And at that time was first in my family,
Yes.
to be in a corporate setting.
Yeah.
You think that corporate is like school. If you work hard, you succeed. But you learn that actually there's ways, there's a way, there's a strategy to your career. When I learned that and started implementing those strategies, my career just
Oh,
blossomed,
wow.
and just did well. In 3 months, I was in a different job,
Oh,
earning double
really?
that.
And this book had a lot to do with it, you reckon?
It did,
Wow.
because okay, well, in any case, I was in article, so I wasn't any match. So obviously, any other job will give you more. But when I got there, I just implemented the principles. Within a
Oh,
year,
great.
I got promoted every 3 years. I was,
Mm.
every 2 to 3 years, my career was blossoming
Yeah.
until the entrepreneurship bug hit
Oh,
me. Yeah,
wow.
bit me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get into that because you are now in leadership development, more in the executive coaching
Yes.
side. What
Yeah.
happened later on in your career that sparked that avenue?
I always knew that my superpower is really helping people uh shift to the
Mm.
next level. I have that ability to inspire and motivate. And
Yes.
it's very
Yes.
interesting that my inside profile says I'm a motivator, inspiring motivator or directing motivator. So this is
Okay.
like really who I am.
Yeah.
But I've always had that ability to sit with people,
Mm.
and help them see how they can get insights about their lives that will
Yeah.
allow them to go to the next level. So that was a
Yes.
natural thing.
Yes.
But then I realized that I want to do that full time, and that's when coaching was really
Okay.
coming into the fray. Then I went
Right.
and did coaching,
Hmm.
and I started just as I thought I was just going to be a life coach and I was going to be a business coach. I'm just
Hmm.
going to do this. I know I'm good at this because, as well, at work, I used to do risk management all the way to executive level. So I had insight into how to, help leaders
Okay.
unpack their problems and how then to think
Okay.
about how they're going to resolve that, from a
Okay. So
risk,
you were doing that
risk management.
automatically already in your corporate role.
Yes,
Okay.
in my corporate role, but now then it was, you would think it would have been an easy transition, but it was
No, it's
not,
not. Yeah.
because you recognize that entrepreneurship is different
Oh, yeah,
from
yeah.
specialization. Yeah, it's very different from specialization.
Mm.
Specialization, which is what I'm good at. I'm very good at coaching and advising and getting into people's feet and really understanding what they need to get to the next level. But entrepreneurship is business, it's marketing, it's selling, it's
Everything.
being everything in one. And when I started my company, I didn't know that. I wasn't prepared for
Mm.
what that would take.
Okay.
That took me longer.
Yeah.
I remember I did my MBA thinking that it was going to help me with that, but actually an MBA just teaches you how to be a good executive, most MBAs.
Mm.
So I struggled, had to go back to work. And whilst I was doing my
Okay.
MBA,
So you left
a
corporate, had an
I left
entrepreneurial
corporate,
chapter, and then went back
had a couple of times.
a couple of times.
left,
Okay. Wow.
left corporate, went to entrepreneur, and that's when I didn't even know anything about, thinking about how long that is going to take. So I took my pension from work, got the offices, got the website, then sat
Wow. Got
there
the
month in,
offices.
month out. I was in Cape Town actually then.
Wow.
Nice offices in Century City, and I just thought I'm the entrepreneur
Okay.
girl and sat there, no customers,
Yeah.
running out of money. So
Mm.
so went back to work. When I came back, I was more prepared. But
Mhm.
when I left, I think when I went back, I think 3 or 4 years later, got into a partnership with these two ladies. When we were just about to get our break, the partnership fell apart. So
Oh,
that was another
no.
lesson.
Ah,
I
okay.
went back to running out of money, went back to work. And then was fortunate enough that when I was doing my MBA, one of the people who was in my cohort, they were an executive in a private university. So they asked me to come manage their BCom in Innovation and Entrepreneurship.
Okay.
Quite a well-known university after, which is the film school, but
Right.
private. So I ran their BCom in Innovation and Entrepreneurship there, and it was
That's a great breakthrough.
that was a great breakthrough. And it was also, it allowed me to be in the education space and it allowed me to be in the entrepreneurship space. Did very well there.
Okay.
And so when I went into full-time entrepreneurship the first time, it was easy for me to work with business schools because I had that, background from running programs. So I started then with working with business schools, running programs. So currently, I run some programs for business schools. I do also insights discovery work, leadership development, team effectiveness, change management. The works through my insights discovery qualifications. So that was the story. So third time
lucky.
was when I got it. Third time lucky.
Wow. And obviously, as a coach, I mean, I think that coaches are the first people that would go and find their own personal development, right? And I think that's where we met because you found yourself a coach that I latched onto as well recently. And how did that happen for you? Your personal self-development?
Actually, I think that having that coach was the game changer in me really being able to stick it out this time. I think also coaches have played a very special role in my business development. My first coach was actually the one who gave me the courage to go for this work because she asked me one important question that we always ask as coach: what if you had all the money in the world, what would you do? Or if it was your last day on earth, what would we do? And for me, that was the question. If it was your last day on earth and you wanted to make this count, how would you spend it? And I didn't say I would spend it coaching a person, but basically that's what I meant. I said if I was sitting with a person and helping them get an aha moment or epiphany, that will help them change their lives, then for me that would be the win. My second coach was really a trauma coach, mainly around money and your money story. And coming from an apartheid background, coming from a struggling background, coming from often as Black people, I feel like we congregate and bond over our shared suffering. Moving away from that can feel like a disloyalty. It can feel like you're leaving other people behind, people who have been there for you and with you. So it creates a very deep money story that often holds you back from really. Yes. So
there's
with
a lot of
that
inner
coach,
work with that, that one has to recognize.
Listen, actually, the coach wrote a book, Your Money Personality, and she, her name is Vangela Makwakwa, and she really, in her work, she really goes deep into unpacking your ancestral money story and also your family background money story and how it impacts that. So she was very significant in my roots. And then this coach, for me, was such an expansion coach. And she embodied really for me the work that she teaches. And it was the first time that I saw someone take spirituality and business and put it together so well. And so I met her about 2 years ago. And then and what I like as well about her work is that her work was her pricing. She priced herself quite high, and it was quite high. And so for me, it was like I had to really think about what I wanted to do with her and whether I could do it and whether it would be worth it.
Mm.
So it took me 2 years. I think when I met her, I did one of her, more affordable
Yes,
programs and then
yes.
bought a program
Yeah, I
from
did
her.
exactly the
And then
same.
this,
Yeah.
you also did the same. And then just had this aspiration on that one day I'm going to work with this woman. And
Yeah.
so when my business
Long
started doing
term.
well, and
Mm.
yes, long term. And when my business started doing a little bit better, I was like, I can try this.
Yeah.
I did that. And then within 3 months, I had moved to a highest program. But the biggest thing that
Wow.
happened with her work is
Mm.
that my second business was Black women in the workplace. And
Okay.
what I was doing was that I was helping Black women position themselves for leadership and was going into gender and race and how we tend to see ourselves from that point of view. But as I was working with him,
Mhm.
I think I really got deep into my spirituality that
Mm.
those terms that I grew to actually it's bigger than race.
Yeah,
It's bigger than gender. It really is about learning and understanding how powerful you are as a divine being,
that's it. Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
There's
as
just
a
a
as
level of
power.
depth, isn't there? That a level of depth that literally
Listen.
opens up, and once it's open, you can't go back to surface level.
You literally, and so it no longer had resonance for me, and so I had to sit down. And also, even though for me, my work was not about fighting the system, really, I was just empowering Black women
Yeah.
to say, yes, this is what you are facing, but you can um overcome that by basically going into your sovereignty. But I think around those space, there's a lot of that fighting the system, that carries that energy of fighting, of
Yeah.
sometimes victimhood.
Yeah.
So
Because
it
it's the
no
whole
longer
it's the whole identity thing,
that's,
trying to shift your identity to who you really are.
yeah,
That's a big part of the work.
totally. And
Mm.
yeah, and also there was a lot of, yeah, so their identity shifted and that no longer resonated with
Yeah.
me. I definitely identity shifted. And so I've always wanted to continue to go back to working with leaders. And immediately when I made that decision, I started getting leadership work. I started getting
Fantastic.
leadership assignments. It was amazing.
Really?
So yeah, for me
Did you had to
that has
push
been
hard? Did you had
powerful.
to go out and sell
Not
hard?
even.
Oh, wow.
Not even just what I was doing with I'm very active on social media and actually social media has done so much for me. That virtual space has done, I mean,
Okay.
I've just met you on social media. I got to write a book, a chapter in an anthology through best-selling, one of the best, it's a best-selling in South Africa, self-published. It's called Real Life and Business Minds. Got to write
Wow.
a chapter in that book because someone
Okay.
found me on social media and liked what I
Oh, wow.
did.
Can you do
I
that? Write the
got,
chapter?
yeah, so it was an anthology of 30, I
Ah,
think 33 writers. Yeah,
I
32,
see.
three
Okay.
entrepreneurs.
Oh,
So I could write a
fantastic.
chapter.
Yeah.
I got an award from a US-based company called program called ICABA, and they have a program called Black Professionals Month. I got an award for my work with Black women,
Mm,
Black people. I got to
amazing.
write for this US company. So
Oh, wow.
social media for me has
Yeah.
been a great
I
platform
know.
in
It's
terms of
great. And Linka
visibility.
does
Yeah.
she does teach this about, the energetics behind it, like how such a huge percentage of our world is made up of the unseen, and
Totally.
how once you get aware of that, how you can then make that alignment happen in the background. And it's really sacred work almost. It does take a special kind of person to want to tap into that sort of thing. And I think that's what makes it so powerful. More
Totally.
about you. What are your hobbies and what do you keep yourself busy with if you're not coaching?
I'm so embarrassed. I think I need to find myself hobbies. I was actually thinking about it. I think before I met Lenka, it was really about hard work and
Yeah.
pushing and doing it, with my own strength.
Mm.
And what was different about Lenka's work was that identity based
Mm.
way of running your business. When you recognize that you can take your goal and create an identity out of it and step into that identity immediately. And then from that identity, you're guided in terms of what to do next. And I think
Mm.
that's why my business was able to shift so easily and so quickly, because it was no longer about what I do, but who I am and the
Yes.
frequency and the energy of
Yes.
that. So that has been the game changer.
Mm.
And before Lenka, it was really very much about survival and pushing.
Yeah.
So my business was my whole personality.
Mm.
And I was just thinking now that I'm starting to feel safe.
Mm.
I'm starting to feel like I don't have to be waiting to exhale
Yeah.
anymore,
Yeah. Waiting
where
to
I'm
exhale.
thinking,
I love
what,
that.
when is it going to happen?
Mm.
When am I going to get to a place where I can rely on my business? When am I going to get to a
And
place in
you do like a
plenty?
whole flip of easing into it. And that's my biggest realization too, is just to ease into it and your
Mm,
go inward for that guidance,
totally, totally,
which then
totally. I
sparks
think
the
for me,
ideas strategically, but it's got to happen the other way around, which is very
totally.
controversial still. People don't understand that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, people don't understand that. Yeah, so it's that paradigm
Yeah.
shift from believing that things happen because you work hard and
And you do
recognizing
a
that
million
actually things,
things.
and when you do a million things, but actually moving to recognizing
Yeah.
that
Sit
things
back.
happen when you're
Yeah. I mean,
alive.
it's not saying don't do, but it's saying
No,
do from a different level or do from a
from
different starting point.
totally.
It's very,
Totally. It's aligned action. So
yes.
it's when I step into that identity of that person who's already achieved that, I start having access
Ah, yeah.
to ideas
Yeah.
and strategies and
Exactly.
people that allow me to
It's like it
actually
opens
breach
up, the
that
whole
breach.
spectrum opens
It
up. Yeah. But
totally, it
you've got to be
opens up
ready.
that.
You've got to be ready for that opening up to happen, right? Yeah.
Totally. But I also think that you are supported. I
Yeah.
actually think, Bronwyn, that your desire from whenever it started, it
Mm.
has always been leading you through the
Mm.
different
It
turns
has.
and twists.
We
It
just wasn't
has.
aware of
So
it. We just wasn't consciously aware of it. We couldn't put a name and a term on
totally,
it. But now that you can,
totally.
it makes sense. Yes.
Yeah, and people is going to be different
Different. Yeah.
people. It might not be the same type of coaching that will work for you.
Yeah.
But if you never give up on that goal and allow it to lead
Mm.
you, yes, you are going to meet the right people. You are going to
Yeah.
start having intuitive nudges of the right strategy. So yeah, definitely
Mm.
my strategy has moved to what is the latest in marketing? What is the latest in funnels? To knowing that I have the sovereignty
Mm.
and the wisdom to
Okay.
come up with a strategy myself.
Ah,
Using all this knowledge, but
yes.
allowing that intuitive guidance that says,
Yeah.
actually, this is the way
Yeah.
to go. And that has been different. So now that I feel a little bit more safer, I'm
Yeah.
like, I need to get myself more play. I actually said this year is really about play.
Mm.
So I am considering what's next with
I love
regards to play.
that.
I've been hiking, I've been
Oh, great.
working,
Yeah.
I've been walking.
Oh,
Yeah, but I am
fabulous.
working towards that.
And
Yeah.
it's all allowing yourself
Yeah.
that space. Oh, the space is so underrated.
Safety. Yeah. When you
Yeah.
feel safe, then you can allow more
Yeah.
space to,
Any
yeah.
closing words or advice for young entrepreneurs, particularly women?
I think it's very important to get support. I think when you're an entrepreneur, you feel like I can do it. I will push. I will climb all the mountains. You don't have to do it alone.
Mm-hmm.
Get a community, get a
Yeah.
coach, get a friend, get some other people.
Yeah.
But allow yourself to receive and allow yourself to be supported. If I can tell an entrepreneur, that would be that. There are people who can do what you do very well because they are focused on it. And you are doing what you do very well because you're focused. The energy is focused. We are all divinity personalized. And so that energy is localized in you. What you can do, you do very well because you're focused on it. And there are other people who can do other things that well. So you don't have to do it alone. Get support, get experts if you can. Put yourself in community. But you can't do everything alone. It will exhaust you, and it's not necessary. The world is abundant with so much help. Most
True.
often, it's not about how much money you have, it's about opening yourself to receive
True.
support,
Yeah.
and which is something that we often struggle with as
Yeah,
entrepreneurs,
as women.
especially as women,
Yeah,
I think. Yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for that advice and the wise words. I really appreciate your time and
Mm.
all the best with the program ahead. And I'm sure we're going to interact lots of times still and
Okay.
feed off each other. I definitely feed off your wisdom as
Yes.
well.
Yes, I
Um,
also do. Thank you so much.
and all the best with the business. Yeah.